For nearly a decade, the world has been asking the same question. Why hasn't Rihanna released another album? At the height of her music career, Rihanna was one of the most dominant artists on the planet. Her songs ruled the charts, her voice defined an era of pop music, and her influence stretched across every corner of the entertainment industry. But then, something unusual happened. The music stopped. No new albums. No global tours. No constant radio domination. And yet somehow, Rihanna became more powerful than ever. While fans waited for new music, she quietly built a billion-dollar empire, reshaped the beauty industry, took over fashion runways, and turned herself into one of the wealthiest women in entertainment. So how did a teenager from St. Michael go from recording demo tapes on a Caribbean island, to becoming one of the most influential cultural figures of the 21st century? To understand that story, you have to go back to the beginning. Long before the awards, the scandals, the billion-dollar brands, and the global fame. Before the world knew the name Rihanna. The rise of Rihanna is one of the most unusual success stories in modern entertainment. Not simply because she became a global pop star, and not even because she later built a billion-dollar business empire. What makes her trajectory remarkable is how deliberately she reshaped power in industries that rarely allow young artists to control their own narrative. Over nearly 2 decades, Rihanna evolved from a teenage singer discovered on a Caribbean island into a cultural force capable of influencing music, fashion, beauty, and business simultaneously. But the path to that level of influence was neither clean nor predictable. It involved reinvention, controversy, survival, and an instinctive understanding of timing that few artists ever master. Long before stadium tours, fashion houses, and billion-dollar brands, Robyn Rihanna Fenty was a child growing up in St. Michael, a district on the Caribbean island nation of Barbados. She was born on February 20, 1988, into a modest household. Her mother worked as an accountant, and her father struggled with addiction during parts of Rihanna's childhood. Financial stress and family instability created an environment that Rihanna later described as emotionally difficult. For a young girl, music became both an escape and a form of expression. Barbados is an island with a rich musical heritage. Reggae, dancehall, and Caribbean rhythms fill the air in everyday life, and Rihanna grew up absorbing those sounds. As a teenager she began singing casually with classmates, forming a small trio that performed cover songs at local events and talent shows. At the time, becoming an international pop star seemed almost impossible. Barbados had produced talented musicians before, but the global pop industry was dominated by artists from much larger markets. That trajectory changed dramatically in 2003 when American music producer Evan Rogers visited Barbados on vacation. Rogers, who had previously worked with pop acts in the United States, was introduced to the teenage singer through mutual contacts. Curious, he agreed to hear her perform. What happened next would alter the course of Rihanna's life. When Rihanna auditioned for Rogers, her voice immediately stood out. It carried a distinctive tone, confident but raw, emotional yet controlled. Rogers invited her to record demo tracks. Soon after, Rihanna traveled to the United States to continue recording with Rogers and his partner Carl Stecken. Those early demos would become the gateway to one of the most consequential meetings in pop music history. The recordings eventually reached executives at Def Jam Recordings, one of the most influential record labels in hip-hop and R&B. At the time the label was led by rapper and entrepreneur Jay-Z, who had recently taken on the role of president. According to industry accounts, Jay-Z insisted on meeting the young singer personally after hearing her audition tape. Rihanna auditioned in the label's offices in New York. She performed several songs, including an early version of a track that would later become her first single. The performance left a strong impression. Within hours, she was offered a recording contract. At 16 years old, Rihanna signed with Def Jam and began the process of transforming from a small-town teenager into a global pop artist. Her debut album, Music of the Sun, arrived in August 2005. The album leaned heavily into Caribbean influences, blending dancehall rhythms with mainstream pop production. The lead single, Pon de Replay, became a breakout hit, reaching the top 10 on several international charts. While the album did not immediately establish Rihanna as a dominant force in the industry, it introduced her distinctive voice and cultural background to a global audience. Just 1 year later she released a second album, but the real turning point came in 2007 with the release of Good Girl Gone Bad. The title alone signaled transformation. Rihanna abandoned the innocent pop aesthetic of her earlier image and adopted a darker, edgier persona. Her haircut changed, her fashion choices became bolder, and the music embraced sharper electronic production. The defining moment of that reinvention arrived with the explosive hit Umbrella. The song's iconic opening line, "You can stand under my umbrella," became instantly recognizable. Its powerful chorus and sleek production turned it into a global anthem. Umbrella dominated radio stations worldwide and spent weeks at #1 on major charts. The single not only elevated Rihanna to superstardom but also earned her one of her first major victories at the Grammy Awards. From that moment forward, Rihanna's career accelerated rapidly. Between 2007 and the mid-2010s she released hit after hit, establishing herself as one of the most consistent chart performers of her generation. Unlike many artists who remain locked into a single genre, Rihanna embraced musical experimentation. She moved fluidly between pop, R&B, dancehall, and electronic dance music. In 2010 she released Loud, an album that emphasized vibrant pop energy and bold visuals. The project produced multiple global hits, including the euphoric dance anthem We Found Love. The track, produced by Calvin Harris, combined electronic dance beats with Rihanna's emotive vocals, creating a song that dominated charts around the world. By this point Rihanna had developed a reputation for relentless productivity. While many artists waited years between releases, she delivered new albums almost annually. Each era came with a fresh visual identity and a new sonic direction. Reinvention became her defining strategy. Another milestone arrived in 2012 with the release of Diamonds, a song that showcased a more introspective and atmospheric sound. The track's haunting chorus and emotional tone resonated deeply with audiences and became another international #1 hit. But perhaps the most significant artistic statement of her career arrived in 2016 with Anti. Unlike her earlier pop-driven albums, Anti embraced experimentation and minimalism. Critics praised the album for its emotional depth and unconventional production. The standout single work blended dancehall rhythms with hypnotic repetition, reflecting Rihanna's Caribbean heritage while dominating global charts. Over the course of her music career, Rihanna accumulated an extraordinary list of achievements. She became one of the best-selling music artists of all time, with hundreds of millions of records sold worldwide. Her work earned numerous honors from the Billboard Music Awards, along with multiple Grammys and countless chart records. In February 2023, Rihanna delivered one of the most watched performances of her career during the Super Bowl 57 halftime show. Suspended on floating platforms above the stadium, she performed a medley of her greatest hits while revealing that she was pregnant with her second child. The performance became a cultural moment, watched by over 100 million viewers and reinforcing her enduring influence despite years away from releasing new music. Yet Rihanna's impact was expanding far beyond the recording studio. During the late 2010s she began shifting her focus toward entrepreneurship. In 2017 she launched Fenty Beauty, a cosmetics brand built around inclusivity. The company debuted with an unprecedented 40 shades of foundation, addressing a long-standing criticism that the beauty industry ignored darker skin tones. The strategy transformed the market almost overnight. Within its first year, Fenty Beauty generated hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue and forced competing brands to expand their shade ranges. Rihanna was no longer simply endorsing products, she was reshaping an entire industry. She followed this success by launching Savage X Fenty, a lingerie company built around body positivity and inclusive marketing. Its fashion shows blended music, choreography, and performance art, attracting enormous global audiences. Rihanna's influence in fashion expanded even further when she partnered with the luxury conglomerate LVMH. The collaboration made her the first black woman to lead a fashion house under LVMH, marking a historic moment in an industry long criticized for its lack of diversity. Financial analysts soon began estimating Rihanna's net worth in the billions, making her one of the wealthiest female musicians in the world. Unlike many celebrity brands that rely solely on licensing deals, Rihanna maintained a direct role in shaping her company's identity and strategy. Despite her enormous success, Rihanna's life has not been free from controversy. One of the most widely discussed incidents occurred in February 2009 when she was assaulted by then-boyfriend Chris Brown following an argument in Los Angeles. The case shocked the music industry and sparked global conversations about domestic violence. Brown later pleaded guilty to felony assault and received probation, community service, and counseling requirements. For Rihanna, the incident marked a painful chapter in her life. Over time she spoke publicly about healing and resilience, gradually reclaiming control of her narrative. Her romantic life continued to attract intense media attention. Among her most publicized relationships was her connection with Canadian rapper Drake. The two collaborated on several songs and frequently appeared together at public events. Their dynamic, part friendship, part romance, became a recurring topic in entertainment media. In later years Rihanna began a relationship with rapper A$AP Rocky, someone she had known for years within the music industry. Their relationship eventually evolved into a family partnership. The couple welcomed children together and frequently appeared at fashion events and cultural gatherings, presenting a new chapter in Rihanna's life. Today Rihanna occupies a unique position in global culture. She is not simply a singer, nor merely a businesswoman. She represents a new model of celebrity power, one where artistic success becomes the foundation for long-term influence across multiple industries. From a small Caribbean island to the center of global pop culture, Rihanna's story reflects both the opportunities and pressures of modern fame. She has dominated charts, reshaped the beauty industry, challenged fashion norms, and built a business empire worth billions. Yet perhaps the most remarkable element of Rihanna's story is her ability to evolve. In a culture where fame is often fleeting, she has managed to remain relevant for nearly 2 decades without releasing music for extended periods. Her voice helped define the sound of 21st-century pop music. Her business ventures redefined celebrity entrepreneurship. And her resilience transformed personal adversity into a narrative of reinvention. For millions of fans around the world, Rihanna is more than an artist. She is a symbol of transformation. A reminder that influence in the modern world is no longer confined to one stage, one industry, or one identity. And as her story continues to unfold, one thing remains clear: Rihanna has never followed the rules of fame. She has rewritten them. And maybe that's the most fascinating part of this entire story. Because when you step back and look at the arc of Rihanna's life, it doesn't follow the traditional blueprint of a pop star. It defies it. She didn't burn out after her first wave of fame. She didn't fade when trends shifted. She didn't collapse under scandal. Instead, she adapted. From a teenager discovered in St. Michael, to a chart-dominating artist under Def Jam Recordings, to a Grammy-winning global icon, to a billionaire entrepreneur reshaping beauty and fashion through Fenty Beauty and Savage X Fenty, Rihanna didn't just survive the industry. She outgrew it. When the music industry expected another album, she built an empire. When the public tried to define her by controversy, she redefined herself through ownership. When fame threatened to consume her narrative, she shifted the conversation entirely. That is power. Not just popularity. Not just influence. But control. And whether she releases another album tomorrow or never again, her legacy is already cemented. The hits, the awards, the Super Bowl 57 halftime show, the business empire, the cultural shifts, they all point to something larger. Rihanna didn't just become a star. She became an institution. But the real question is this. Is her story finished? Or are we still in the middle of it? Because if history has shown us anything, it's that Rihanna moves when she's ready, not when the world demands it. And that unpredictability may be her greatest advantage of all. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure you subscribe to Nocturne Archives for more investigative documentaries that go beyond the headlines and uncover the stories behind the power. Leave a comment below and tell us, what chapter of Rihanna's life do you think defined her the most? The music? The scandals? The business empire? Or the reinvention? And if there's another artist, mogul, or cultural icon you want us to explore next, let us know. Until next time. Stay curious. Stay critical.